And that ends our countdown. We're live. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our 10th anniversary celebration of TCCA, the Technology and Curriculum Conference of Aldi. We're excited to be able to recognize attendees from all over the world who have registered to be with us today. My name is Bill Drake. I'll be hosting this session along with my co-host, Patsy Matheny. Before I introduce your presenter, I want to go over a few items with you. The title of this session is TECHegies, Blending Technology and Strategies for Student Success, and it will end promptly at 1:50 so that we can prepare for our next session. If you have questions during the presentation, please enter them in the chat on the right side of your screen. Towards the end of the session, I will give the presenter a 10-minute warning to allow time to wrap up and answer a few of your questions. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce your presenter, Missy Eichman, who joins us from Cold Spring ISD. Missy, the room is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so very excited to be here today, and welcome to TCCA 2020. And I have a love of technology, but I have a passion for students and a passion for delivering engaging and meaningful instructional TECHegies for my teachers. So I feel like that by blending sound instructional strategies with educational technology, you can create a variety. And we all know that variety is the spice of life, and especially when it comes to our students, a variety of techniques that are going to allow our students to make meaningful connections to the materials that are being presented and make those connections with real world, real life situations. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get going. So let me make sure I've got it shared. So getting started today, what I wanted to talk about is that TECHegie. It's blending technology with sound instructional strategies for encouraging student participation and ultimately student success. And so why should educators facilitate TECHegies? And I say facilitate because I feel like when you are, as a teacher, forming an environment where you are no longer the sage on the stage, you become a facilitator with technology and strategies that we're going to call TECHegies. You're going to create a blended learning experience for students that is going to afford those students a plethora of soft skills, if you want to call them. I don't know why they call them soft skills when they're some of the hardest things for many of us to do, including, presenting. And so, but those skills that are needed for life, no matter what the students' future goals are in life, what their future plans are. And so what I'm talking about with soft skills, I'm talking about really those 4 C's of 21st century learning that are creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking skills that, and being a facilitator of that, you can actually provide all of that in one single TECHegie. And if nothing else, with the current situation that we are in today, it makes it more evident than ever before the importance of including in digital skills with our everyday instruction in our classroom. And so I am excited to be here today and share some of this with you. And as our host said, if you have any questions, please put those in the chat. I've shared my presentation with you in an email and also put it in my presentation notes. And so if you would like to follow along, please click there. All of the links are going to be live in that presentation. So feel free to, follow along as we go. I feel like we have a challenge as educators to actually revolutionize the way that we are teaching. And so let's take these TECHegies and revolutionize education with TECHegies. And so without further ado, let's look at what a TECHegie is. So it's basically taking technology and blending that with strategies. And so today in this presentation, I'm going to go over a few technology tools, and I hope that if they're not new to you, and many of them are not new, and it really, to me, TECHegies is not about using the newest, most improved tool. It's finding tools that work for the job that you have and that can blend with sound strategies that are going to cause our students to have engagement. And that today is very important, especially with our asynchronous students who are at home trying to still get their learning done. And so first, I wanted to talk about the Google Suite for Education. And I didn't put it on the list because to me it's obvious when you're talking about Google, and right now in the world we're living in is Google, our Google Classroom. At our school, we're using Google Classroom as our hub where we put all of our assignments. So Google Classroom is a given for one of the blending of our technology with our strategies, just because that's going to be our host or our hub for all of our assignments and our tools or links for our students to get to. But the next tool that I wanted to look at is Google Drawing. And Google Drawing is, I have a scavenger hunt that later I would like you to participate in. And one of the tools I created was with Google Drawings, and I'm going to click right down here because it's my first example. I created something using my strategy that I got from Lead Forward Thought Bubbles. So Lead Forward Thought Bubbles is a strategy where it's traditionally a hands-on paper strategy where the students take a piece of paper, and in the center of the paper, they write a circle. And on the circle, they're going to include the big idea in the center of their paper for whatever the lesson topic is. And then throughout the lesson, the student is going to add thought bubbles when any new learning occurs. And so to make this a TECHegie, we're going to use Google, our Google Drawing. And what I did with that Google Drawing, oops, let me get back, is I used a shape in the middle, put my big idea, TECHegies, there, and then I've created on the side thought bubbles that are reproducible that you can just drag in. And each student would then look at the question that's at hand, the big idea, and they will put a thought bubble as we go through our lesson. I've included on this this page of the presentation a link here for an editable copy that you can share with your students. You just make it your own, put your own main idea in there, your own big question, whatever it might be. And so that is the first example, and that is using Google Drawings. You'll notice that on this slide, there are links that go straight to the tool. And so when I go to my Google Drawings, and I feel like Google Drawings it's one of those technology tools that is underused and very easy to use if you are used to using Google tools, because you'll notice that up in the toolbar, it's the same tools that if you use Google Slide or anything else, you'll be familiar with. So you're able to do page setup and change the size of your Google Drawing. And you're able to download these as like a PDF or an image to reuse them in your slide presentations or whatever it might be. And you can also insert images. You can insert the shapes and charts. So it is a wonderful tool. You can insert video. You can insert numerous things in here. And so this is a wonderful tool to use. Another reason that I love to use this tool is because over to the side, you can add in things that can be like drag and drops and things that you can use in the tool. So TECHegies, The TECHegie for this is using Google Drawings along with a lead forward instructional playlist strategy. And so lead forward is, I meant to click over here. Our lead forward playlist looks like this. And what it is, when you go to lead forward, you click on this playlist and you have a huge selection of different strategies. And these selections, strategies are differentiated by movement, if you want to add some movement in. Earlier, you remember I said that variety is the spice of life. This playlist alone can provide a huge amount of variety within your strategies. If you would like to extend thinking, that's there. If you want your students to prove that there's evidence of learning, that is where these strategies are. And that is where I found the thinking bubbles. So that's over here, thought bubbles, sorry, right here. When you click on it, it's a live link that opens up to your strategy. So I took those two things and meshed them together and made a TECHegie. The next example that I have is for virtual field trips using Discovery Ed SOS. It's the strategy playlist on Discovery Education. If you do not have Discovery Ed as one of your paid for tools at your school, no need to fret. The spotlight on strategies at this link takes you to the strategies. And so they're available here in a list. They do not have the video showing you how the strategy works, but you are able to get to the strategy. The strategy will show you, it's a PDF, and this little filter will show you can filter by the age group of your students, and you can also filter by, is this a strategy that uses video, an image, or text? And so you'll see there are lots of strategies to choose from. This strategy that I'm using comes from a strategy that they had to go along with their virtual field trips that they have on Discovery Ed. And so the PDF for that looked something similar to this, and I turned it into a shareable virtual field trip, made a few changes on it, added some things to it to really draw in some questioning for those students. And so this one is, I call it my virtual field trip journal. And so when you take your students on a virtual field trip, and the tech tool that you can use to go along with this, I've added in the link for on this site right here under virtual field trips. There's a wonderful article in weareteachers.com that was 25 plus amazing educational virtual field trips that has a link for several different virtual field trips that you can go on. And so you could include this link in your Google Classroom or in on an agenda, whatever it might be that you're using. And with that, you can let your students go through the virtual field trip, or together as a group, you could go through the virtual field trip and then have your students fill out their journal. There are a couple of different ones on here that I wanted to point out. I love 360 cities, and you'll see that again here in a minute. And this one down here at the bottom that is Mars is marvelous, because it's actually, when you click on it, and I'm going to click on it and I hope it works. I don't think this counts as a video, so I hope you're able to see it. If you click into Enter 360, this actually takes you through like a simulation that you are taking off and going to Mars on the rover. And it's a real interesting virtual field trip. You can skip this intro, and what that does is it will take you into the simulation, and you are on the Mars. You are on Mars, and then it has different areas that you can click in and do a 360 tour of Mars. So wonderful, wonderful educational TECHegie by using this, and then having your students fill out a virtual field trip journal? Where did you travel for your virtual field trip? What are the reasons or significance for visiting here? And what are you studying that relates to this location? And then they're able to list and describe details and facts. So this is adding in things that they need in their ELAR. So you could work with some of your other teachers for this, and it could be a real blended learning experience. They have to describe 2 things that they learned or that they understand better after their trip. And then I put a space down here at the bottom for them to draw a picture or have them create a picture using their shapes and line tools. And so this allows the students, if you have them use their shape and line tools, to practice on their digital skills and being able to manipulate the shapes and lines. Because if you've never used the shapes and line tools, there's a scribble tool down in here at the bottom. And I have some students who have gotten so wonderful at being able to literally draw something that I can't even draw with a pencil using their scribble tool and their shapes. So wonderful TECHegies by using virtual field trips, an SOS strategy of the journal, the virtual field trip journal, and then including in your Google slide to make that into a digital platform. So that was example number 2. Example number 3 is from the teacher toolkit. And the teacher toolkit has several different tools that you can use that are strategies. These strategies are over here on the side. The categories are all over here. You can, if it's something, a game that you want to play with your students, if it's a check for understanding, the one that I have here is 3, 2, 1. You just click to view the tool. This one right here, I wanted to highlight this because I want to show you why I love this so much for instructional strategy purpose. One thing that I hear from my teachers a lot when I show them a strategy is that they will say something like, oh, well, that's good. They are using that. That's elementary. But I love this side because it offers you to watch the video and the strategy working for elementary or at a secondary level. Or then on some of them, it might have a using this in science versus using it in ELA. So it gives you a variety of ways that teachers are using the strategy. So it has the video for it. It's showing you being used in an actual classroom. And then it also has the PDF versions of it. You can download templates for each, and it provides templates for elementary and secondary and Spanish. So I love, love, love the teacher toolkit. So that is a wonderful spot to find all sorts of strategies. In this particular strategy, and once again, I've included an editable copy of the digital tool that you can share out with your students. Works wonderful for asynchronous learners. But with this tool, what they will do is they go to their, they go into their 3, 2, 1. You can make this a group project, or it can be a single individual project. And what the students they can use with 3, 2, 1, they're able to, whatever it might be that you have done, it can be your lesson that you've given face-to-face. It can be something that they have read. It can be a video that they have watched, a pre-recorded video that they have watched. But whatever it is that you have presented, then they're going to tell you 3 things that they learned, give you 2 examples or applications, ways that they can apply it, or inferences that they can make, and then 1 question that they have or 1 conclusion that they have drawn after the presentation, after the lesson. Then to go even further and make it even a more wonderful 4C type lesson, you can add that with Flipgrid. And so after they've completed this, then they can go to Flipgrid. And Flipgrid, you can set up a lesson in Flipgrid ahead of time, a topic they're called. And in this one is my 3-2-1 brief. I just said, practice what you will say, then record the details of your 3-2-1 summary. And remember to have an introduction, give details, and then have a conclusion. All students do then is they click on record a response. They will either, this can be from a link like I had there, or they can enter this code. They just go to flipgrid.com and enter the code in order to leave a response. What you end up with as a teacher, and you can set this to be moderated before you put it onto your grid, but then the students down here in this section, once the videos have been recorded and posted, they will show up here. And now Flipgrid has gotten even better because as a teacher, I can click on that video and give them a video response, or now I can even give them a text response. You can set the settings so that the students can give responses back and forth to each other. What a wonderful tool to use for peer feedback and teacher feedback, which is something that is so vital and important, and that immediate feedback with Flipgrid. So using the 3-2-1 summary from the teacher toolkit and blending that in with tech tools like Flipgrid and Google Drawings, you're able to create a wonderful blended learning experience for your students. So the next thing my next example that I want to cover is, oops, wrong one, just did that one, is something called from Discovery Ed, once again, 25 things you didn't know. And so Discovery Ed, the usual way that this is done is that you take a large piece of paper, or you can use your computer, or not your computer, that's old, but your smart TV or a whiteboard, and you can have your students create or collaborate on 25 things that they didn't know about whatever it is your unit of study that you're studying. So you can do this at the end of a study to do a review, but what you can do is divide your students into 5 different groups, and then you assign each group a topic that's related to your unit of study, whatever you're studying right now. And it can be images, it can be videos, it can be articles, text copies of whatever it is. And then if you're using this as an offline, you create folders that you can put all of that material in, and those groups are working together, to go through all of the material in their folder. What you can do in the digital world is you can create folders, but you do it within your Google Drive, and each group would have that link that they go to that has all of their digital copies or whatever it might be, videos that they watch for that material. And then they use those resources, they develop a list of things that they didn't know after they go through their resources. And then those are all shared together as a finished collaboration, a collaborative group of materials. And you ask the groups to provide their evidence as to why those facts that they chose are important to know. And they all combine those on a collaborative way, whether it's a big sheet of paper, or I've created 25 things you didn't know on a Google slideshow so that they're able to do it digitally, and your asynchronous learners are able to participate along with your face-to-face learners. And collaboratively, you have 25 things you didn't know at the end and reasons why those are important to know. So wonderful TECHegies of using Google, a Google slide presentation along with your strategy from Discovery SOS. Well, the last example that I'm going to show is a TECHegies idea for using Flipgrid and virtual field trips along with a strategy called sentence frames. And basically a sentence frame is just giving students something to start out with and they finish it. And so you can use QR codes You can use links in a slide presentation, put them on your Google Classroom. This flip grid is observation. This is called observations sentence frames. And what the students will do is you can add any kind of topic over here. What I've added over on my starter is one of the 360 cities that I discussed earlier. The students are able to drag around 360 degrees within here. And what their objective is to video themselves on Flipgrid, giving as many sentence frames for I observe as they can. And so they have to use both qualitative and quantitative observations. So they may say, I observe, 15 mountain peaks, or I observe white snow. I observe, footprints in the sand. So they would make their observations. And then at the end of those observations, after 50 seconds of giving their quantitative and qualitative observations using the sentence frame I observe, then they use the sentence frame. Each of them take turns and use the sentence frame. One question I have is, and so they ask a question, and then everyone takes turns collaborating to answer the questions or try to answer the questions that each team comes up with. So another wonderful TECHegie for using technology along with Flipgrid, along with another tool called an old tool called sentence frames. So those were 5 examples that I've given you. And what I would like now, first of all, are there any questions out there about some of the tools that I've talked about or some of the strategy playlists that I've talked about?
There have been no questions on the strategies so far. The only question, could you refresh for them where to access your presentation?
Yes, I sent out emails to anybody that had beforehand, but if not, if they will send me an email, I would be happy to share this out. And I also put my presentation where you sign up for the different presentations. I put a copy of my presentation there as well.
Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to do something called a scavenger hunt, which is another strategy that you can use with your students. I would love to be able to have this going on face-to-face because it works so well. And what you do with this when you're doing face-to-face is you actually do all of them. I have links down here at the bottom that you will, as you're going through these different strategy or these different categories, you'll share your ideas with the group. And so on the first one, it is the example I used with my thought bubble. And so this one, when you click on the link, and is there a way that I can share the link to my presentation now on chat for anybody that hasn't got it? Am I able to do that during my presentation?
You can give it a try. I'm not sure if that link will work for them.
For anybody that wasn't able to get there, I'll see if I can do that in just a second. But anyway, what I really want you to do is I want you to go click into the Lead Forward playlist. So go to that, this page, or up. You can just do this on your own without even clicking. You just go to Lead Forward, and let me get back there so you can see it on my screen. Yep. You're going to go to Lead Forward Instructional Playlist, and it's just lead, the number 4, word.com/playlist. Once you're there, you're going to click down here, right here where it says instructional strategies, and that will open up the playlist. What I would like for you to do is just go through, click on some of those playlists, and find one that you know you would love to try with your class. And then from the list of technologies, or it doesn't even have to be one of the ones I highlighted today. If you have a favorite TECHegie or technology tool that you use, and as you're going through these different playlists, you think of a wonderful way that you can make that a TECHegie, I would like for you to share that with us in our thought bubble. And so you're going to, on the scavenger hunt right here, click to share your idea with the group. You're going to click here and it's going to open it up to this thought bubble. And I'm going to copy this and see if I can put this in our chat. I'll see. I'll share it with you guys, and if you're able to share it, that would be wonderful. I'm going to leave it editable. That way you're able, and your students would be able to actually see the sides. You want that, and to manipulate it. And so while you're looking through those playlists to get your ideas, I'm going to talk just a little bit about some things you would want to go over with your class. And so on here, over to the side, I put things to remember to discuss. So you want to discuss with your class beforehand, and this brings in some of that SEL, some of that social emotional learning that we need to be doing with our kids every day, all the time. Another life skill that they need is to make sure that they do not make any changes to anyone else's bubble. And you can make sure that with that, you're talking about how that bubble is someone else's property and how we do not mess with other people's property without their permission. So remember that everything that you do, this is another thing that I would tell them, everything that you do that's on here shows up because it's a Google tool in revise history. So I can see who made the change and know when you made it. So you want to make sure that you're not messing with anyone else's thought bubble. And then the other thing that I would want to tell them is that anything you put in a thought bubble, we're going to treat that just like if it were being said aloud. So only positive things go in our thought bubbles, just like we only need to keep positive thoughts going in our brains. So those kind of things are things I would discuss with my students. And then because I have this in editable mode when I'm sharing it with my students, I've got my step-by-step instructions that I can put over to the side. I have instructions over here for what I want them to do. I can give some exemplars like I've done for you guys over here of what I'm expecting. And then the other thing that I love is that I can put this up on the board and I can see as soon as new thoughts come up and we can start discussing those, it starts becoming part of my lesson. I can give immediate feedback. So if something comes up that needs addressed right away, somebody has a misconception, we can cover that right then. They can make a correction. It's just a wonderful way to gauge your students' learning. So I'm starting to see some things come in. So I'm glad somebody was able to get the link. So good. So once you've found your instructional strategy in Lead Forward, then what you're going to do is you're just adding that instructional strategy. How could you make that a TECHegie? How can you blend that with some form of technology? And we're not blending it just because of technology. We need to be keeping those skills in mind that we're trying to get our students to do. So is this going to help with their communication? Is this going to help with critical thinking? Is this going to help with their, with their creativity? What is this technology actually doing to help my students with their 21st century learning skills? So is it just teaching them some digital skills that are going to be necessary? Does anybody have something that they want to, you just don't want to type it, you can't type it fast enough that you want to share out? One of my favorite things about this is that you can see it as it's happening. It's immediate. The next thing that we're going to talk about, the next tool that we're going to do is that you're going to look through, and if you do not have time to finish this today, please still continue to click on those links and give me feedback, and I will give you some feedback on whatever you said. I love to see the new ideas. The next section there, and this is also something you can do with your kids. You can mix something like this up. I was able to do this on a Google slide in just a matter of, maybe five minutes. I added a few links to tools I'd already created, and then you can put whatever it is in there, and you have a playlist, or you have exactly what you want them to do and the amount of time that they have to do it. So the next section, that middle section, is to find a new strategy using Discovery Ed SOS. So you're going to go back over to that starting slide. You're going to go down to the Discovery EDU Spotlight. You're going to filter, if I'm on that Discovery EDU, I'm going to find with my filter up here, if I'm secondary, I can click there and it will bring up all of the things that are related to secondary. Let's say that I want to use something with video. I would find one of these tools that have video beside it. So I can get very specific. This is just like an audio file right there. I can use an audio file. So I would click on it. It opens up that strategy. It gives me the big idea of what the strategy is supposed to be for. Tells me my ages that it's meant for, what types of media are going to be used in it. I can download that strategy to a PDF. I still, even though I'm a technology lover, I still love to have my folder full of strategies. That way I can, flip through it and get remind myself I have them categorized, kind of like Lead Forward has theirs categorized depending on differentiation. I still like to have my little notebook, but then it gives you the steps. It tells you that you're going to use, in this particular one, a video clip that's 3 to 4 minutes long. So wonderful things that you can use with your asynchronous learners as well as your face-to-face. And so that is what you're going to do in that second group of your scavenger hunt, that middle section. Then same thing, it's back to your bubble, add those new shareable strategies there. And so I see somebody wanted to use the tour of knowledge. And so you're posting, I've got, my eyes are so bad. I'm going to be right up in the screen before I know it. So let me make this bigger so I can actually see it. Tour of knowledge, post different math solutions on each slide and have the students add thought bubbles of the steps they understand from each problem that has been solved. That's an excellent TECHegie. Good job. Yes, I love it. Okay, and then this last section over here, and these minutes, I just put some minutes in there to show you the idea of what you could do with your scavenger hunt. And then so you try something new. Choose one of the tech tools that you were least familiar with that I went over, and then you're going to collaborate with Flipgrid. If you click here, it takes you to another Flipgrid that you can actually collaborate with on 5 things you didn't know. I put a video that I recorded using Flipgrid Shorts, which, love Flipgrid Shorts. If you haven't tried that out, it is a terrific tool. Of course, I can't demonstrate it while my camera's being used, but when you click on record a response, it opens up a Flipgrid video camera that you can add filters to. That's what these little things are down here at the bottom that says breaking news. That's a frame, but you can add filters. You can put pixelated. If you don't want your face to show up, you can put emojis over it. The students can be very creative with their recording when they do a response. And you can record up to 10-minute videos, which who needs a video longer than 10 minutes? Our students' attention spans aren't that long anyway. So then you're going to, when you record your response to me of something you didn't know, 5 things you didn't know about one of these tools, it will show up here and I can give you a response back. And then Pear Deck, that's another tool that I love. And Pear Deck, it does cost, but the free version of what you can get with Pear Deck is amazing. So what we're looking at right now is Pear Deck from the student's point of view. Perfect for a real quick temperature check on your students. This is called SEL, Social Emotional Learning, right here on the very first screen. This comes up for any Pear Deck. You can give a link. You can add the link into your Google Classroom instantly once you've started your Pear Deck. And then the students open up to an engaging you're able to do something with the Google slide. It becomes interactive. And so on this one, I added my 25 things you didn't know. This, as a student, when I click on the slide, I have an interactive board where I can draw or put text in. I can change the color of my text, the size of my text. And the most wonderful thing about this is that I get instant feedback. And I'm able, from my teacher side, to give feedback to my students. Any questions?
Missy, just a quick reminder, you have 10 minutes.
Yes, thank you. So any questions about using any of the tools that I've talked about so far? Anybody ready to go out there and get you some TECHegies together so that you can start revolutionizing education by providing these blended instructional opportunities for your students? One more tool that I would not let you get away from here without looking at is the classtools.net. I could have made my entire presentation, if I'm talking about using a blended instruction with, adding in technology with my classes, this tool, classtools.net, if you haven't looked at it or used it, you really need to check it out. This tool has just a huge variety of different things that you can use. You could do something different with your students every day for weeks and not have covered all of the things that you can do with this website alone. And so some of the things that are in here that I just want to hit on is the 3D gallery. If you've never done a gallery walk with your students, that's another strategy. This is taking that into a tech. The students can create a 3D gallery or you can create a 3D gallery. You can it's just like a virtual museum exhibit. So you can take pictures of your science project as you're doing it and walk through this 3D gallery. It creates a link that you can share. Another one is the QR treasure hunt generator. This is wonderful. I've used this with PD with my teachers and they loved it. You just put questions are connected to QR codes. You can hide those and you can go on a treasure hunt and find those answers or those questions around the room. And you can put those all over your school. And then the kids have to provide the answers back for you that the questions are on the QR codes. That one is wonderful. This one, the countdown timer, I use a timer for everything. And so, I've been in education for 24 years and I heard someone the other day say, after a while, you don't have to use a timer. No, I feel like everyone could use timers. You can use timers. This one, you can add music to. So you can add, that music that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to hurry, or let's be slow and calm down types of musics on your timers. I love that one. And then so many of these are wonderful. If you're not using badges with your students, I know I love to get a badge. I love, my Class Dojo badges and all of my badges that I get. Students love those. They love stickers and badges. So Badge Maker is a really good one. And I have an example of Badge Maker on here. I think this is it. And it's just on Class Tool. It's so easy to do. You put what you want on your top line, on your bottom line, and you're able to upload an image in here. And so you can create whatever badge you want, and then you just download that badge. And then they have something called a cube maker, the animated cube maker. It's just like using cubes. And if you want to see what that strategy looks like, on my on here, if you go to the For the Teachers has a whole section on using cubes and how to make the paper cubes. Well, Classroom or ClassTools.net has a digital cube maker for those students who are not in your classroom. So if you don't have any other questions for me, I'm going to stop there. Please continue to send those things to me through the scavenger hunt. I really want to hear your ideas. And once again, thank you, TCCA, for allowing me to present today. If you have any questions, my email is provided in the slide. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up if I can, so that you have my information. And I would be happy to collaborate with you on any ideas that you need, or just hear your ideas. So thank you very much.
Okay, Amy, thank you very much for that. There is one thing that I'd like to show our attendees, if I can. I'm going to try to share my screen. And a lot of attendees have been asking, how do they get to your presentation? So here I am in the schedule. And here is the session we were just in with Missy. And if you hover over that link to the session and go down below the profiles, there's the link you need to get to her presentation right there.
We have about.
So pretty easy to get to.
Sarah, do you have?
Okay, if there are any questions, we have a couple of minutes. Please drop them into the chat.
We don't have any questions so far on anything. It was really good explanation. And I love Google Drawings. It's one of my favorite tools, but I didn't know you could do all that other stuff with it. So now I got to get back to playing. I'm so excited.
I think it is one of the most underused Google tools, and it is wonderful for education.
A lot of fun, no question.
Thank you guys so very much.
And very useful. Missy, thank you for your time and your preparation. Your presentation was fantastic, full of a lot of great content and ideas. And we appreciate you sharing your experience with us and being a part of TCCA this year. Attendees, the super secret password that you'll need to claim your certificate for this session is encourage with a capital E. Encourage with a capital E. Since we've got just a second, a little extra time, I want to take just a second to recognize one of our unsung heroes, Amy Franklin. She is our YouTube monitor. She's in the background monitoring our YouTube feed and letting us know if there's anything that goes wrong, any issues that we have. Amy, thank you for your help. We appreciate that. Our next session will begin at 2 o'clock. You've got a little extra time. So in the meantime, if you could take the opportunity to visit some of our vendor sessions. Vendors are a big part of TCC and have been for a lot of years, and we appreciate their support. So take a few minutes and go visit some of our vendors. That'll end this session. We're going to back out of this broadcast and cut over to our next session. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.